We are doing a project about coming to America, and one part of it is interviewing someone that came to America, and I chose you. I'm going to ask you some questions, so let's get started. When did you immigrate to America?
I came to America in 1949 to New York.
What circumstances brought you here?
Could you repeat your question?
Why did you guys come here?
Well, we came from Germany after the war, and we didn't want to stay in Germany, so we decided we'll come to the United States. And it was my aunt and uncle that did that, and I was just a young kid, so I went with them.
When did you come to America, and what prompted you to leave your homeland at that time?
Why did you leave?
What?
Why did you leave like Poland and Germany?
Well, I left Poland in 1941. Not that I wanted to leave, it was just because of the Nazi time. We were forced to leave Poland. And we were forced to get out of our town. It was terrible. They killed a lot of our Jewish people. And we were taken into an airplane factory. They took away my dad, and I stayed with my mom and my sister. She was 2 years younger than I. And they put us on trains and moved us to a different part of Poland. And from there, they took us to different towns in trains, which are horrible. And they were beating the men. And it was unbelievable, you know. And we stayed in this town for a while. And then my mom made some decisions and went back to part of the Poland where there were still Jewish people. And somehow she found out that my father was taken to an airplane factory to work on watches. And there, my father met a Polish man, and they decided that they'll, you know, save one child. So I don't know how it was, how my mom got to their house, because I was really young. I was just about 10 years old. And they were nice enough to take me. They didn't take my sister because she was scared from all the killing and stuff. She used to have nightmares at night, and she would scream, and they were afraid to take her because if the neighbors would find out that she has a Jewish child and report it to the Germans, her whole family would be killed. So my mom left me with his Polish family. I was hidden in a closet for 6 months because I had to learn how to speak. I knew how to speak Polish, but I had a different accent than they had because they came from a different part of Poland. So, and also they had to tell the neighbors why all of a sudden they have a 10-year-old child. So they made up a story that this Polish man had a brother in Warsaw, and he was in the underground. He was caught by the Germans and arrested, and his wife was left with 6 or 7 children, and they decided to take one of the children and help her out. So that's how the story came out. And the reason I stayed in this closet, like I said before, had to learn the accent the Polish accent that they spoke with. So I was staying in this closet. It was like a big piece of furniture, and they put like a little chair inside and a little pot so I can, excuse my expression, pee in. I stayed all day long in that closet, you know, when they would give me like food and all till dark time, you know, when the night came, and I would, you know, go to sleep in one of the rooms. And then in the morning, again in the closet. It wasn't very pleasant, but I had to do what I had to do. When I came out of the closet, of course, they introduced me to the family, and I was one of the nieces that came from Warsaw so they can take care of me. It was very frightening because I was always afraid that maybe somebody would recognize me. But I guess God watched over me. There was tough times. I couldn't go to school because the school was in the same town that I was born in. And I was afraid, you know, that they're going to recognize me. The place that these Polish people lived in was in a forest, because they took some of the trees out and they built many of these homes where these Polish people lived. But the church was in the town where I was born, which was like 10 kilometers from where these Polish people lived. So on their holidays, like Christmas and Easter, they would take me into the forest, leave me there while they went to church, because I couldn't go to church because I was afraid, you know, that they'll recognize me. And also I could not stay in the house because then the neighbors will question why I didn't go to church. So that was another thing that I had to go through. And then, you know, after a while, the Germans were defeated, and we were freed from the Germans in 1945. In 1945, when the war was over, there were many people that came from different towns to the town where I was born, and the name of the town was Mielec. And then some of the Jewish people got together and they rented a place in Mielec, and it was called the Jewish Committee. When this Polish woman found out, and her husband, that there is a committee in this town, they went and they told the Jewish people that they have a Jewish child, and they gave him the name. After a while, my aunt and uncle, which was Reuben and Faye Recht, came from Russia. That's how they survived. And they came to Mielec to find out if anybody was alive from the family. So they told them that there is a child with this Polish family, and they gave him the name, and I was the niece of Reuben Recht. So they came to see me, and I didn't recognize them, and they wanted to take me, but I was afraid to go with them. And it was also a story that somebody told me that my father was alive, which was not true. I didn't want to go because I wanted to wait for my dad. Supposedly, he said that I should wait for him. So my aunt and uncle left because they wanted to go to Germany because it was taken by the Americans. And they decided they will not take me right away with them because it was very difficult to get to Germany. You know, there was a lot of police and all kinds of stuff. So they still left me with the Polish family, and the Jewish people that were in the committee, they used to come and visit me. And then after a while, they decided to take me away from the Jewish committee people, take me away from this Polish family, and send me to another town in Poland, which was Krakow, and it was an orphanage. I didn't want to go But this Polish lady, the Polish woman, told me, she says, I'll miss you and I don't want you to go. But she says, you're not quite 14 years old. And says, you're going to get older, you want to get married, you want to have a family. She says, who's going to marry you here? So they took me and I went to Krakow to this orphanage. The orphanage had many, many children, and they were getting ready to take these children to Israel, which was Palestine at the time. This was 1945. So I stayed in the orphanage for a while, and maybe my aunt came to Poland to get me, and I was not with this Polish family anymore. They told her that I was in Krakow. So she went to Krakow, and maybe 2 days after that, this orphanage, all the children from the orphanage went to go to Israel, which was still, Palestine. But my aunt took me out of this orphanage, and we tried to get back to Germany, which was Munich. It took us about 6 weeks to get back from Poland to Germany because everything was bombed, and there were different borders. So let's see if I can get the date now. In 1945, I went to Germany with my aunt. I was 14 years old then. And there were many Jewish people in Munich. They had a school. As a matter of fact, it was a school, they taught everything in Hebrew. And I knew a little Hebrew from way back before the Germans came into Poland in my town. I started a little Beth Yaakov, it was the name of the school. I didn't go there too long because the Germans came in. No Jewish children could go to school. So I learned Hebrew much better. I also spoke Yiddish, but being with this Polish family for almost 3.5 years, I completely forgot the Yiddish. But after a while, when I was in Munich, Germany, everybody spoke Yiddish. The language came back to me. And then, of course, I learned the Hebrew. In 1949, that's why we came to the United States. And I went to school there. And I also, I went to day school in Brooklyn, New York. But I couldn't get used to the way of the American way. So it was kind of tough to go to school during the day. So I enrolled to night school. And I graduated from high school, from the night school. And then we also, my aunt and uncle had a laundry with people who bring stuff to wash, So I would also work in the laundry during the day and then go to school. And then in let me see if I'm going to get the dates now right. 49, I think.
49 is when you get
Danny, could you pick up the phone a little bit? Thank you. Thanks.
Then my aunt and uncle registered, to come to the United States, like I said before. So 1949, we were called to the American place or whatever. You got to go to the doctors, we checked that we are healthy. But we got to New York, Brooklyn in 1949. Like I said before, and I went to school and I graduated from high school. And then my uncle, or great uncle here, that lived in California, came with his son to New York to visit his sister. And he brought, his son, which was Joe, And that's how I met Joe. And he fell in love with me, and I fell in love with him. Within a week, he asked me if I would marry him. But you probably heard about the Empire State Building. I always have a joke. He asked me to marry him on the Empire State Building, which was like 100,
Yeah,
what did I say?
100 floors. Or
100
stories.
floor, yeah, it was. So I always joke around. I say I was afraid to say no because he would have thrown me off the building. But anyway, I met him in October 1949, and we were married in December. I came to California, and you know, my husband Joe was an actor, so we lived in Hollywood for a little while. And after a while, I got pregnant, and it was kind of hard to make a living being a star. I mean, a movie star. So we moved from Hollywood to San Diego, where his father had a shoe store. So he went into the shoe store business, and we opened up a couple of stores. And then we had our son, Larry. And then we had another son, Gary. And then after a while, we had a little girl. And life was very, very wonderful. We were very happy. Unfortunately, Joe, my husband, got very sick, and I lost him maybe like 10 years ago. But I have my grandkids, and there's one right here that I adore. And I have five grandchildren, which I'm very happy. So I was blessed. And you live with memories, but some are very good memories, some are not, and that is life. And I'm so glad to have you in the family too. So let us all be well, let Israel do well, and hopefully everything will be good for us. So next time I see you, I'll probably remember some other things, but I want to tell you this one thing that I kind of missed. That there's, you know, good people and old people. You know, this family that saved my life, I never met before. They were not neighbors. They were just people that my father met in this airplane factory. But what I bring out, when my mother was leaving me with this Polish family, she had little gold pieces. It was money. And she wanted to give this to this Polish family. And I was only not quite 10 years old, but it made such an impression on me that I remembered the exact words that she said to my mom in Polish. She says, I don't want to take it from you because you will need it more than I do. But if we survive this war, and you'll still have the gold pieces, and you'll give them to me, then I'll take it. So this really stuck to me in my mind. Another thing that I remember, when we were being kicked out of our homes and we were put on trains and wagons, my grandfather was with us. And this German Nazi came up to the wagon and he said to him in German, I'm going to tell it in German and then I'll explain to you what it means. He asked my grandfather, Wie alt bist du? How old are you? And my grandfather said, 72 Jahre, 72 years. And the German said to him, Du brauchst so lange mit dem Blutwagen fahren. You should have been on the blood wagon a long time ago. But he didn't take him off the wagon and let him stay. And these are the two things that I often think now about, and they really stuck in my mind. So, you know, I had a hard life, but it turned out very good towards the end. So Next time,
we have,
Diego will go more with the more details, you know.
we have a few short more questions.
I have a few more questions.
Okay.
What did you feel to be the advantages to coming to America?
When do I?
What were the advantages of coming to America?
Advantages?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I hated the Germans and I didn't want to stay there. And America, you know, we knew that there's that you can do something with your life. So when, you know, I was just a young kid, I did what my aunt and uncle were doing. You know, I became their daughter. And that's, you know, how it was. So, you know, I had no choice and I would never stay in Germany. So it was a great decision that they made.
Yeah.
What challenges or disadvantages did you face in coming to a new country?
What challenges do you have coming to this country?
Well, it was hard. It was completely different. I spoke English because we were taught in this Hebrew school in Germany. There was the second language was English, but the English was not the kind that they speak in New York. You know, it was more like the King's English, like they speak in England. But it helped. And then, you know, going to school, you know, the first couple of days in New York were tough. I would have left the same day, but being there for about a week or so, I really loved it because I was free. I could express myself. I could do whatever I want. You know, the schools were nice, so it was good.
What is the best memory you have about coming to America?
What is the best memory you have about coming to America?
Well, it was kind of hard. It's hard to say what, you know. It was tough at the beginning, but like I said, there were many refugees, like we were in New York, and I made a lot of friends. And then, like I say, after a while, I said I'll never leave New York. So you see, from that time on, I never say never, because you never know what life has planned for you. So that's about, you know, I really liked New York. I liked it very much.
What special possession did you bring from your former homeland? Why was it special to you?
Did you bring anything special from your homeland?
From Poland?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I was young, so I didn't really, you know, the most wonderful thing was having grandparents and parents and neighbors, and it was just a nice life. And I remember certain things, like my grandfather was a tailor, and how much he loved me. And I have pictures of him, so maybe next time you're in San Diego, I'll show you the pictures. And these are the memories that I had, but some of them were pretty tough, what I witnessed.
Did you have any possession, like any actual material stuff that you brought here with you?
No, we couldn't. When we were thrown out of Poland, we couldn't bring anything with us. Everything was taken away from us, you know. So there was nothing. We just had the clothes what we had on our backs when they made us leave the town. So there was nothing really like that, or a ring or something, a necklace, or there was nothing like that. It was all taken away. So the only memories are with my grandparents, my mom and dad, but nothing material.
Thank you so much. I hope I see you again. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you for wanting to know all these things. And
Pearl, thank you. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. You know, it's kind of difficult, you know, to, you know, sometimes you say something, then you say, oh, I forgot to tell you this, but maybe you could put it all together. It will make
Yeah.
sense.
We will. Thank you so much. Danny, thank you too.
Of course, of course. We'll hopefully see you
When are
guys
you
soon.
coming?
Let's see if we stay here for next year, we might come again. Hopefully. We'll see.
Okay.
We're not sure if we're going back to Israel this summer or staying here, so we'll see.
Okay. Well, thank you for doing that.
Thank you so much, and keep
Stay
being
well.
healthy, and really, we hope we see you soon. Thank you.
I hope so too. Have a happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
Happy
Bye-bye.
Hanukkah. Bye. Bye.
Bye.